All right, I've got 7 o'clock, so we're going to call Gardner City Council to order. We're going to invite everybody in attendance to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for venturing out on a sweltering Monday, and we're not even into summertime yet. I had one in my packet, but thank you. We have no public hearings. First item on the agenda is a presentation of a proclamation. We don't have any of our local businesses here this evening, so I'm just going to read this from the dais after I take a sip of my Groundhouse Coffee blender that just expanded their business into Gardner on the south side of the railroad track. So, who says you can't expand your business in Gardner? The proclamation reads, whereas the City of Gardner recognizes the important contributions of local businesses to the economic strength and overall character of the city, and whereas the residents of the City of Gardner benefit daily from the displays of charity and outpouring of support for community projects from local businesses and their members, and whereas the City of Gardner is committed to continuing development of a supportive business climate which encourages local investment, job growth, and community involvement. And whereas the City Council recognizes and appreciates the dedication, innovation, and entrepreneurial spirit displayed by local businesses, now therefore be it resolved that I, Chris Morrow, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2017 as Kansas Business Appreciation Month. So let's all get out there and support a local Kansas business, a local Gardner, Kansas business at that. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If I understand correctly, our digital clock is stuck on 5 seconds instead of 5 minutes. So I encourage you all to come up and try and get everything that you need said done in 5 seconds or more. So if anyone has anything to say, now is your opportunity. Step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. With no one coming forward, we will move forward to the consent agenda. Is there a council member that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? I would entertain a motion.
So second.
Motion Shute, second Melton, that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? The consent agenda passes. New business item number 1. Consider approving a general retailer special event permit for Olathe Health Charitable Foundation to sell alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises for their event to be held June 22nd, 2017. Kim, good evening.
Good evening. So this is an agenda item to approve the general retailers or special event permit that we require for events that want to sell alcoholic beverages. So Olathe Health Charitable Foundations is looking to host an event on June 22nd to do a street party type event and have collaboration with the surrounding businesses. It'll be located on Elm Street starting at Main and ending at the alley. It has, it'll be closed off, and there are businesses in the area that have agreed to stay open, and patrons can come in into their business and check them out and see what's going on in there. And all of their benefits from the sale of the tickets to the event will be to benefit the new NICU Birthplace Center at Olathe Med.
And we've got people from Olathe.
We do.
Charitable.
Lizanne McElhaney and Sandy Rager are here from Olathe, so.
Okay. We'll open the floor for public comments. That is all the presentation you had, right?
Yes.
If anybody has public comments regarding this? No one coming forward. We do have the applicants here and the city clerk. Questions or comments regarding this event?
I'd like to bring them up to the podium and ask them, to maybe explain out what they're doing, just for the record,
Sure, happy
just
to.
to enlighten our citizens about what we're doing.
So I'm Lizanne McElhaney. I'm the director of the Olathe Health Charitable Foundation. We are now Olathe Health Charitable Foundation. We just recently changed our name. So this is part of our Young Friends series of events. We do these once a quarter. And kind of the idea is to bring young and young at heart folks into the mix of Olathe Health and let them become more familiar with what it is that we do and the services that we provide. So we do these once a quarter, and we kind of change the location around every year. And because Gardner is such a strong portion for us, for Olathe Health and Olathe Medical Center, we definitely wanted to do something within Gardner. So this will be kind of a street-style party from about 6 to 9:30. It's $25 per person. We have several of the businesses, including Groundhouse Coffee, the gallery, Edward Jones, J.P. Davies, who happens to be on our charitable foundation board. They're all opening up their businesses, and people will be able to kind of free and flow and walk around. We'll have a little acoustic band set up. A couple different bars set up. Everything will be roped off and very secure.
Great.
And it's kind of fun. So I hope you all can make it. We'd love to have you all there. Does that kind of answer your question?
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you.
good. Yes, and again, it is going to support our new birthplace.
Great.
Went to the one in Miami County, Moon over Miami last year. It was a fantastic event. So
We do a good job with our events. So if you haven't been to one, I encourage you all to attend.
And by the way, if you haven't been to the birthplace, talking to folks that are on, maybe listening to this on YouTube, wow, what an amazing facility that is.
Oh, I'm so glad you think so. And in fact, I would encourage you all to come for a tour. I'm kind of the tour queen for the hospital, and I'd be more than happy to set up a tour and take you all through, because we have a lot to be proud of. And Gardner is so important to us, and it's expanding all the time, and we're expanding our services all the time in Gardner. I would love to have you all come out and take a look.
Our fifth child was born at Olathe Medical.
Oh, very good.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Good. All right.
anyone else?
Anyone?
Questions, comments? Sandy Rieger's here too, so.
Long-time resident, yes.
Y'all can dance or anything.
Sandy keeps everybody in line in the charitable foundation, so.
Yeah, well, for those of us that are in the Rotary Club with her, we know that she keeps people in line.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, with nothing else, I think we're gonna go ahead and put it to a vote.
Okay,
But,
thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming this evening. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to shoot, second Harrison, that we approve our general retailer special event permit, allowing Olathe Health Charitable Foundation to sell alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises for the Night on Elm Street event to be held on June 22nd, 2017. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? New business item number 1 passes. New business item number 2, consider amending a resolution number. All this time, Kim gets to sit over there, and now it's her council meeting.
So this is a housekeeping item. I have inadvertently duplicated a resolution number 1968 from the May 1st meeting when we tabled the bond election resolution. The resolution number that was assigned to the fireworks later, and that was given 1968. It should have been 1967. So on May 15th, when the bond council election ballot question came back, we gave it 1968 as well. So this is just changing the fireworks that should have originally been 1967 to that resolution number.
And we can do this without a resolution. We can
It's not changing any verbiage in either of the resolutions, it's just amending the numbers, so it doesn't require a roll call vote.
Very good. All right. Public comments on our housekeeping item? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion Melton, second. Winters, that we approve an amendment to change resolution number 1968 for the discharge of fireworks to resolution number 1967. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? New business item number 2 passes. That is it for new business items. Next on the agenda is council updates. Does staff have anything for council, chief?
Yeah, we have the Milo Range Active Shooter Simulation System on loan to us for the next 2 weeks. If any council members want to come out, and we had to set it up over at Fire Station 122 because of the size of the system, but if you're interested in coming out and taking part in that, just contact me and I'll make that happen.
There you go, Rich.
Why would I move? I just do this all the time at the house. I don't need
Gons, do you have anything for us?
No, sir.
Kim?
I do not.
Scott?
I just want to let everybody know that the farmer's market is still at the fairgrounds on Thursdays from 4 to 7. And we now have a full house with 17 vendors. And right now we're trying to coordinate an official ribbon cutting on the 29th, but that has not been confirmed yet.
Fantastic.
Good work.
Larry?
A couple of items, Mayor. I'd like to, first of all, I'm sure everyone's interested in how many fireworks stands are possibly coming to town. And last year we had 5. All 5 of those told us they were coming back. We have received applications from 4 that have been approved. We've also had additional locations discovered by some very searching out individuals to find locations, and a couple of these were locations we talked about last year. The property owners last year weren't quite ready to allow them to have a stand. This year there will be. So there is the distinct possibility you could have as many as 10 or 11 this year. Some of those locations are really along the peripheral area of town. There's one that's approved south of Casey's on South Center, that open area that's just south of Casey's. And then there's another one that's being requested down at the 66 station at the corner of 191st, but they have not brought us their app, but I'm expecting that like just any minute. Then we have the others that were downtown last year, and one at TradeNet, and then we have a brand new one that took the Kansas Department of Transportation's approval out at 175th Street, which will be out actually on the very east end of town on the north side on the entrance ramp as you go north. So believe it or not, that is in the city limits, and that does meet the requirements for zoning and everything. So those locations are more forthcoming. We've also had a very active, the last 3 weeks have been extremely active for our developers. The residential home developers is what I'm referring to. And we've run into, as normal this time of the year, we've run into some timing issues, and we've run into some issues with some of our new subdivisions that are being opened up. And a couple of items that have come up that are of concern to those individuals is trying to take their old subdivision house models and get them into the new subdivision format. The things that we're kind of running into have to do with some things that you've already addressed, has to do with setbacks, has to do with hardscape, has to do with just in general some of the items that we've already brought to you that are changes. So we are addressing as these come up, and that leads me into my next comment, which is we received one anonymous phone call from an individual who I think may have misunderstood the action that was taken at the last Planning Commission meeting. the individual was complaining about the planning commission adding something to their agenda outside of something that was being published for that evening's agenda. They can certainly do that, just as you can add things to your agenda. They're a governing body that has the right to do that. In this particular instance, it was a very simple item. What we'd had is, earlier that day, we had an incident with a developer, a very small item, but he wanted it being brought before the planning commission to see if it could be modified. And since we had them meeting that night, we, as staff, asked them to add that item to not last week's agenda, but next month's agenda, because the time frame for adding it to the agenda had already passed, and the only way we could get it on there would be if the planning commission implemented that request. So that was what they were voting on, is they added that item to the agenda, so they then could consider it later to be added to the July agenda, at which time there'll be certainly a public input time frame. And by the way, that item, if you're interested, was whether or not we should continue screening air conditioners around the backs of houses. So that was the item that we're adding on there. Just also, we've had calls about the demolition at 836 Rosewood. That was the fire, the fourplex that was caught on fire, and it's been over a month, 6 weeks ago now. We've been having some issue getting utilities disconnected. They are finally all disconnected, and the demo permit was picked up today. We expect that to start tomorrow or the next day, so that will soon be on the ground and out of here. They do expect to rebuild a fourplex on that site, but we'll have to wait until it's all gone, and then we can inspect the foundations and everything and make sure everything's okay. Same thing with CVS, who may have seen the fence that's gone up for protecting the site. They have their demo permits. They're ready to go. They can start anytime they want. They have decided to wait until after the Festival of the Trails event so that they wouldn't tie up Center Street traffic. Sure. So that's why that hasn't started. About the only other thing that I would like to bring to your attention then would be an update on the what you sent back to the Planning Commission on massage parlors has been added to the July agenda. So if people wish to attend and hear conversation, that will be in the July Planning Commission meeting, which will be the last Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of July. And then, of course, whatever the recommendation is will come to the planning, or come back from the Planning Commission to you in the next month. So that's everything at this point in time.
All right, Laura? Michael?
Couple of quick items. The citywide cleanup, remind everybody about that, June 17th and June 24th. June 17th is residents north of 175th, and June 24th is south of 175th. The cemetery and township folks that were here, I do have a meeting scheduled with them next week to have some discussions about, items that we can work out and help them take care of. And then the other issue is our pavement management project for 2017 is out to bid, and we'll be receiving bids later this month. And we have a streets committee tomorrow night.
That's going to include Gardner Road from the viaduct out?
That is a separate project, and we're doing reviews on those plans right now, and they'll follow shortly.
Very good. Sure. Well, Ryan, you don't ever have anything. I'm going to stop asking.
Like I was gonna say too much, so you said.
Cheryl, go ahead.
I do have a few things. I want to call your attention to a couple of things related to intergovernmental coordination. 3 areas in particular. I met with the fire district chief to go over upcoming development. We have a lot of development activity that's going on that will impact his workload. So met with him to just give him a heads up of the activity that we'll have coming up, and to see how we might look at collaborating in the future on making sure that he's in the loop on development activity. Also met with the KCADC president and CEO, Tim Cowden, to continue to be in front of them as we pursue economic development options for the city. With the Chamber of Commerce, I attended their luncheon. We presented the Main Street Corridor consultants. I provided an overview of the Main Street Corridor project and the funding partnership that we have with Mark to be able to move forward to look at sustainability on Main Street. Also, last week, I met with the Water District 7. We talked about the agreement as well as future water needs as we look at the increase in development activity. On employee engagement, we previously had a staff engagement committee. We have convened a new leadership engagement committee. I'd like to distribute the activities that we've completed under engagement when we had the staff engagement committee. And then on the left side of that document, it has the upcoming activities that we will be doing with the leadership group. Of note, something new that we'll be doing this year with the leadership group for our employees is an Employee Appreciation Week. And the Leadership Engagement Committee has been working on planning that activity. For the advisory boards and committees, all of our advisory boards and our newly formed committees, we had a retreat last month. The retreat was a follow-up to the council retreat that you all had. Prior to the retreat with the advisory boards and the committees, we convened a staff retreat to look at the priorities that the council established, to look at tasks and initiatives that staff felt like we could accomplish. We had some amazing things happen at the advisory board retreats. It was facilitated by Hal Johnson. And one of the things that he asked the committee members to do was to take a minute and kind of preach to him and sell to him, talk to him about why their board was the best, and if he was, why we should have business come to the area. And I am regretting that we did not video that. It was really impressive to hear what the volunteers said about why they felt like the work that they do on our advisory boards is very important. So that completes my update.
Sure. Okay. Does council have anything for staff or the good of the order, Rich?
Real quick, next Monday, do we have anything, Chief, for the Citizens Police Advisory Committee meeting? Yes. Okay, I will not be in attendance, so I'm sure you'll handle it without a problem. So everybody's invited. It's going to be, even though I'm not there, be a hoot.
Be a good reason to.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good reason to come for the first time if you've never come. So thank you for that. Also, last meeting we were talking, I had asked about the numbers for Parks and Rec on how many kids were in basketball and volleyball, so we could look at it versus the budget. Do you have that information, Scott?
I don't have that yet at this time.
What are we waiting on, I guess? I mean, because that's a big part of your budget, right? I mean, if for
Right,
all
you're
those
you're
kids.
wanting participation numbers?
Well, I think we need to know how many kids, like I'd asked last time, are, that's a big part of your budget, correct? With the money that's generated through that program, that goes right into is that?
Well, that program it recovers its direct costs. So the fees that we collect typically go to just offset the cost of the expense to do it.
But I know I'm going to go out on a limb and say more is generated than expended on that. And is that correct or no? Because that's what I'm trying to find out is where we're at with this. Because if that's going to be a part of the budget, you know.
Are you looking for
Well,
the numbers that are participating in the program as well as the financial?
Right.
Okay.
Because here's what happens. If we don't have that anymore, we have people that we don't need, right? Because there's those jobs that aren't being done anymore. Is that correct?
No, because actually they're doing they're doing other things other than just kind of the program of recreation.
Right. Okay, then, so we now have a loss of money, of revenue, because we're not having those people, all those kids aren't generating any money to the city, so now we have a net loss of money, because the same amount's not coming in that was, yet we still have the same expense.
I'd want to take a look at it to see if we have a loss, to see how that program actually operates, whether it's in the red or the black. So I think we probably want to get a financial analysis of it, listening to you now about kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd asked about that last time. I'd like to have that, because
Okay.
that's a big part of budget. I mean, we have to look at all these things. If we're not going to have that money coming in, we got to know about it ahead of time, because something's going to come up short, be my guess.
So What
So
I'm
I'll work
hearing
with the
is-
Parks and Rec director
yeah,
too.
What
Okay.
I'm hearing
And finance
is
for you.
participation numbers, revenue generated for volleyball and basketball, and personally, I'd like to see expenses related to it.
Right, because we need to know that before budget. So, now, real quick on 417, Councilperson Harrison, she asked about the whole email back and forth, or what was going on with the school district, and how they were taking over these. Can you give us an idea of what, have you talked to the school district about what's going on with, or Cheryl, or about what's going on, so we know from their perspective what's happening?
Right now, we have a meeting scheduled for Monday with the city administrator and myself, with the superintendent and the board president next Monday.
Next Monday on the, what date was that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Tuesday.
The 13th? And so you haven't had a meeting with them since the 17th, when we brought this up originally, to the 17th of March? Is that correct?
I made, as I mentioned in previous meetings, I had made a few requests to meet with them, and as I indicated before, they said it was a busy time of year and they would get back to us when their schedule allowed.
But have you walked over there and checked, just knocked on the door or anything, just out of curiosity?
The superintendent requested that we work through her assistant to do any sort of appointment.
Right, so, and then, what about since, before that 417, this actually came up originally, an email that I received. I talked about this on 12/5 with the original email, so have you had any meetings between the 12/5 city council meeting and the March meeting that we brought it up?
No, I believe the 12/5 email that you're referring to, I asked some questions and the superintendent said she would get back with me on the questions that I asked, but we had not met, I had not received a response or anything.
So you
since
haven't
then.
ever met with the school district at any time to work out any of these details?
No
Just out of
official meeting.
curiosity.
I've made several requests to meet with them.
All right. That,
Is that all you have?
I think so. I mean, I saw another email recently, and it's kind of disturbing that we're having this disconnect when the building is right over there, where we can walk to it from here and just knock on the door and try to find out what's going on. I think sometimes things get lost in digital communication, where in-person communication does a lot. So, I think we might just need to just go knock on a door sometime and go, hey, you got 5 minutes you can give me, and try to make this work, because it's not working the way we're doing it. That would be my recommendation, to try to get issues resolved from this point. So,
We can see what the meeting next
Yeah.
Monday or Tuesday yields.
is that meeting still on then, Cheryl?
Yes, I saw some emails that took place and that gave me some concerns, so I followed up and reached out to the superintendent and asked that we please sit down to see if we can try to talk about how we might collaboratively serve our kids. So the meeting is still on. I have not heard from them that we're not.
Tuesday?
Yes, I've not heard from them that they're not going to meet, so that I can get engaged and see if we can get some closure on this.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Lee?
Yeah, I'm curious about the airport bathroom. I got another email regarding the airport bathroom and what our plans to do with it long-term, that, and what's being done to lease out the space that was formerly occupied by a flight school, if there's anything being done. So I thought I would just pose those questions here.
Yeah, so on the first issue of the airport bathroom, we have closed it due to the condition of the septic field out there. And we've looked at options to connect the bathroom to the city sewer system. It's a low pressure grinder pump station system, and it's about $130,000, which is not currently programmed in any of the budgets. And we do have, right now, we've got a porta potty out there, for folks to be able to at least have a facility out there to use. In regards to the flight school, that building, as well as some of the other spaces out of the airport, have some issues with them. And until we determine, the overall plan and budget for the airport and taking care of some of those issues, I don't think it'd be appropriate to be seeking a lease.
Okay. So, just so I'm clear, what prevents us from opening the bathroom at this point?
The septic system itself is really more or less failed out there, and so it periodically, especially in times of rain and when it's wet, like it has been, the bathroom backs up.
And that has nothing to do with any pressure that was applied in the playground area to what I guess I've been told are called laterals.
Yeah.
I'm not a sewer expert, but
Yeah, I don't believe so. Now, the septic field itself did have issues prior to that. So I've seen, some of those small ruts that were made, et cetera. I don't think it's an issue. And at some point, we may investigate in, repairing that septic field, but again, it's really not in an appropriate location.
okay. Well, one of the perceptions I think we're going to have to deal with at some point is that since the city's taken over the airport, we now no longer have a lessee in that location, and we now no longer have a bathroom at the airport. So at some point, we're going to have to do something. I don't know what the proper course of action is. Definitely not $133,000 or $135,000 project. Doesn't sound like it would be reasonable. So.
Well, I think that this is what happens, I think, when we're now on the hook for something that the Airport Association was dealing with before, all right? And the fact that the airport itself was kind of not in the best of shape when we acquired it, okay? And the fact that we're going to have to look at those lease rates again. I mean, we're talking about no budget for these items. Well, we've got to build a budget. And it's got to be in line with the airport master plan. And if that's the case, we're going to have money to finance it. Right now, we're subsidizing the airport. It's at a loss.
Right.
And as long as it stays that way, we're not going to be able to do the improvements that are needed. So,
I'm curious as to whether or not, I know that the FAA grants that we get are oftentimes in regards to runways, but we've had them for hangars before, I believe. And I think we can do it for terminal buildings, if I understand correctly, but there again, I'm no airport expert, and I know you're getting up to speed, so.
well, any
I'm just working on
facilities
it.
directly related to aviation are covered by FAA grants.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
So as far as the competitive grants go, those are not available for hangars, et cetera, for our airport. There are very few around the country that do have grants for hangar construction, but basically it's because their entire airport is so up to standard and up to snuff, if you will, that they're able to use it for that.
One other thing I was curious about how the rest of the council felt about this, but it would sure help me out a lot if I could see the monthly expenditure report that we get in our packet, if it was in an Excel spreadsheet.
that'd be great.
So that
I thought I've mentioned that before too.
Yeah.
um,
No.
Not without swapping out our financial software. We
Yeah,
can't.
but I was,
This is
any
something-
kind of spreadsheet that, anything? Anything would be better than a scanned copy of a spreadsheet.
sometimes sideways.
I hate to tell you something you don't want to hear, but there is no way to export that yet. However, I think the new business intelligence software we bought may be able to do that. We just haven't done it yet. So we can work on that. I will make no promises as to when, just because we're maybe in the middle of budget.
I was going to ask you about the BI timeline. Is that a project for this year or next year? The BI timeline.
You're working on it. It's underway.
Yes, we've had implementation and 1 week of training. And so I was working with Gons on it today to bring the catalogs on board to the PCs so that we can write these programs where we'll get you the Excel format. So the financials will be on that program as well, and some of the coding for the work order system. So it's kind of one of those learning the way the data pulls in, where the catalogs all live, getting it on everybody's PCs. But we're hoping within probably the next month for his process. So once we get the hang of that, then the rest should come pretty easy. So.
And I guess the reason that I have that question is because I was looking at the legal expenses for this month, and it was $35K. So I'm kind of curious as to where that $35K fits in with the $11,000 a month average that we were told in the last meeting, because that's basically 3 months right there and some change in 1 month.
So that I can. I've been having staff work on some stuff that I'll be able to share with you on the legal expenses. That'll kind of show you what we have. So if you give me a little bit of time to have them finish that up, I can give you some insight on that.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Lauren?
And given that particular part of your request, that's a different discussion than I thought we were having. So it's still business intelligence, but now you're talking about a drill down on detail.
Well, yeah, basically, it would have been a lot easier for me to go through and sort an Excel spreadsheet than a scanned copy of a spreadsheet. That's not OCR. And can't be converted either, by the way. I tried.
Kristen?
I don't have anything.
No.
Just real quick, reminding you about Festival on the Trails coming up this weekend. Friday night, we've got some rock and roll bands, and Saturday is more country. But come out for part of it or all of it, and you'll have a good time. Promise.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the ADA meeting is going to be before our next meeting, but I think it might be, because it's kind of strange. It's third Thursday, but that's looking at the 15th.
Strange like you.
Yes, absolutely. But if it is the 15th, and I believe it is, then please come out. We're going to have a rock and rollicking time here at the Senior Center. Hey, we do. We get busy. Anyway.
I don't think that means what you think it means.
And then, yeah, I had the same concerns about the discussions. A couple of things. The one about the developers. One of them directly contacted me about some additional design standard changes that were affecting them, and probably the same ones you were talking to. So as much communication as we can do to give them the impression that we want their development and that we'll work with them to try to get it done would be very helpful. The second thing is about the Parks and Rec situation with the winter sports. I've been given information that states that the school district is going to move forward with or without our cooperation on the winter sports programming, and that really does distress me quite a bit. We probably could have nipped this in the bud well before now, but it just didn't happen, and I think that that's a failure. Maybe on both sides, I don't know, but I think that we probably could have had a little bit better, more proactive communication on this than we did. Regards to the airport improvements, as I said, we're probably going to have to look at reevaluating our leasing structure. I know it's probably not something that the airport folks want to hear, but as I said, we've been operating at a loss, and they've been operating at a loss for quite a few years.
We should probably also look at the possibility of building more hangars.
And building more hangars, bringing in more revenue. Unfortunately, the hangar situation is really more predicated on space on the tarmac. And, you know, they have to be able to have paved access. Well, that's a problem because we only have one paved runway. And that one, you know, I think the plan of the master plan is to actually relocate that runway, correct? About, 50 yards south or 100 yards south of where it currently is?
I think so.
That would open up more space for hangars, but again, that's not a project that's in the immediate term, and we still got to resolve that situation. So, totally get where Lee's coming from. We just got to figure out how to pay for it. So, that's all I have.
Well, I would encourage everybody to get out for Festival on the Trails this weekend. Todd has actually worked very hard on the Color Fun Run. You know, every year I usually go to Chad Fest with our distinguished citizens. Invite everybody out for that as well. I do look forward to an update from Cheryl and Scott after a meeting with the school district next week. And don't we have a joint meeting with the other entities? Is that scheduled yet, Kim, or not yet? We're still, yeah. But we're working, we're trying. On our end, we're trying, correct? Yes. Okay.
Is the only entity that's created, I don't mean to interrupt us, Chris, but the only entity right now that's giving us a little bit of a scheduling issue is the school board, the school district?
It is correct.
All right.
So how about without
From
them?
the original one, we haven't sent out all-incoming invite since the original. The last thing that went out was to you guys, and I don't think I received responses from all of you back on that. And I left it in Matt's hands before I went on vacation.
Okay. All right.
So importantly, when those come out, make sure you respond so we know how we can work with the school district.
Sure. Well, and the other entities that we're trying to bring in.
Sure.
And I do know that the school district did put out a press release about their new community and recreation, youth community and recreation programs. They're planning on doing some stuff over the summer. What they do beyond that, I'm unsure. I know there's been a couple of council members that apparently have been clued in on some of this stuff. I didn't really hear about it until after the fact, after the school district had made unilaterally the decision to.
May I chime in?
You may.
Thank you. We all got emails in December, and I saw your name on several emails since then from the school board or from
I haven't seen
the
it.
superintendent.
I didn't get any.
I didn't get anything.
I've got an email from you in here about the whole email thing, Christy.
Yeah, but that was just recent.
Yeah.
I mean, that was literally a couple of weeks ago. I did not.
But I brought them up in council too about these problems happening, so it's kind of hard to say that you just heard about it.
Yeah. Well, no. Actually, I received one email that highlighted an issue, but didn't really ask for a resolution, and certainly didn't appear to be looking for any kind of collaborative effort to move forward. So
I guess I'm just more proactive, and I pick up the phone when I see a problem. And I made the call, I guess. And I brought it up in front of the body to try to prevent a problem in November, in March. Actually, Christie gave it in March, so.
yeah. Well, communication with our intergovernmental partners is an awful lot like a saloon door. It does swing both ways.
And if somebody emails you, you can reply back or call them.
Well, and if somebody's got a real problem that they want to address, they can pick up the phone too. You know, this is,
Okay.
yeah. What? Yeah. Hey, listen, you're talking about can't we just wander over there? Well, can't they just wander over here?
We need them. I don't know if you understand that, for their facilities, Mayor. We use their facilities. It's like if I'm borrowing your car, I'm going to call you and ask for your car. I'm not going to just go pick it up and drive it around. That's the difference. We need them more than they need us. Let's face it. That's the way society works. When you need something from someone, you go to them. You don't wait for them to come to you.
Well, when the school district needed infrastructure for Grand Boulevard and for sewer and for water to service the Grand Star Elementary School and the Trail Ridge Middle School. They came to us. That was important to them.
It was.
And they came to us, and as partners, we helped them.
Notice how they came to us, we replied.
Well, yeah, not only that, but, I mean, we established a benefit district so that they could locate those schools there. I believe we still are paying some debt service that we normally wouldn't have had to pay because we wanted to be good community partners. So we've long been good community partners with the school district.
That has nothing to do with this conversation.
Yeah. But
Things that happened in the past, I made a rule at my house. We don't get to talk about things in the past. We talk about what things happen right now.
we're not in your house.
I understand. But I'm just
Okay.
saying, it's a good idea, if you really think about it, to let's focus on this item and not bring up things from the past. This is the issue we need to get resolved.
Well, it sounds like they've already established the community programs that they're going to do, so that's an item in the past as well.
But the
There's
reason
still
why-
more stuff that could happen later on, and I'm trying to stop it, is the point. If the city would like to continue to make revenue by offering these programs, we don't want to burn that bridge and lose all facilities that are associated with the school district.
Well, and I think they're meeting next Tuesday, so that's a start.
Which, well, yeah, and that had been mentioned earlier as well. So,
I just want to make sure that you're clear that to say that you didn't know or weren't aware is not actually correct.
it is correct. I'm sorry that you seem to understand what's going on in my head, but that's just not the case.
Okay. Well, voters will decide.
I think that the issue here is really more of the root cause of this particular situation. The USD 231 had no interest in taking on these programs before this past fall. And, you know, my understanding is that these new hires for these two programming positions were done as a budget adjustment. They weren't in this past year's budget for the school district. It wasn't in 2017's budget. They did this as a reaction to, on their part, this is them, okay? They did it as a reaction to the lack of cooperation that they were perceiving from the city. And that's a problem. That's a problem. If it were a situation where there was a project and, you know, those two entities were working together, that's one thing. But we actually created this problem to a certain extent because of the fact that we weren't being collaborative with these programs.
Well, see, I've read most of the emails, and I don't see it that way.
Me
So,
neither.
not at all.
And in
That makes three of us.
which way do you see it?
I see it as there were commitments that were made, rules that were followed, and the school district on several occasions broke those rules. And I will give you a specific example that I was intimately involved in. Adrian did the bocce ball tournament. Unified School District was supposed to be at the high school gym. All these teams coming from all these schools
And the buildings.
had to have special access. School district canceled. Said that there might be a basketball practice needed in that gym, so they had to move to Wheat Ridge. So I'm not saying that there's 100% fault on either side. I'm just saying there's a lot more to the story than some of these situations. So to say that the city's to blame or the school district's 100% to blame, I mean,
No, and I'm not saying
once
that.
again, we're dealing with professionals, and if they can't, if both sides can't come to the table and work it out,
I agree.
then it's the taxpayers, because quite frankly, we all own those facilities. It's not the school's facilities, it's all of us. So
I understand, but we don't schedule things for Johnson County on their property without asking them if we can do that.
no, and I think that there was a thought that there was agreements in some of the scheduling. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And then I'm not saying I heard both sides, but I mean,
No.
I just think that there's multiple things that have led to where this is, and I don't think there's a
And
single entity at fault at this point.
And the root of this is insufficient communication. Whether it's school board or city, we're not communicating well. And that's, you know, to whatever extent we can control that, I think we need to do that.
Well, and let me just say, so city administrator, Parks and Rec director, they're meeting next
Yes.
week. We scheduled that meeting. They scheduled it with us, but we reached out.
Yep.
On top of that, we're the ones that have been trying to coordinate an intergovernmental partners meeting. And actually, it appears that maybe this last one was slowed down by council not getting back. And gosh, I hope I'm not one of the ones, Kim, but if I was, I apologize. But listen, I've been known to wait until the last second to respond to those things. But staff, when they're trying to do these things, so that we can have these meetings, it's important that the governing body does their part. So let's just say we're trying to communicate. We're trying to get together with them, and if we all can cooperate amongst ourselves, then maybe we can get that done sooner.
All right.
And without anything else, I don't have my normal sheet for this, but we've got, next item on the agenda is executive session. So I'd entertain a motion on considering entering into executive session pursuant to attorney-client privilege.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Motion, Shute. Second, Melton, that we enter into executive session pursuant to attorney-client privilege. Ryan, how long do we need? Cheryl, Ryan? 15?
Let's say 15.
So we'll say 15. Be on the safe side. Recessing into executive session at 7:51, coming back at 8:06. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? We stand in recess.
Good times.
Entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved. Second.
Motion Moore, second Harrison, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we've got a second executive session, for which I would, okay. Ryan, you got an estimate on time there? Hour? Okay. I'd entertain a motion for the second executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Winters. Second Harrison.
Motion that guy.
Yeah, turn that around for me. Motion Winters, second Harrison, that we adjourn, but that we recess into regular executive session to discuss personnel matters relating to non-elected personnel. Leaving at 8:08, coming back at 9:08. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? We stand in recess. Resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? We're back in regular session. I would entertain a motion to recess back into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I'm going to go Moore, motion Moore, second Melton, second him over there.
That might be
Melton,
me.
that we recess into executive session, discuss personnel matters relating to non-elected personnel, leaving at 9:08, returning at 9:23. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? We stand in recess. Entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion should second Harrison that we resume regular session. In favor say aye.
Aye.
We're back in regular session. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second shoot. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.
It's so early.